This is working. There's been a lot of issues going around, so hopefully this is working. It's loading. All right, sounds like it is working. So this is Shooting the Breeze, episode number 35. Might be 34. I'm double checking it right now. Let me go look at the notes of the last episode. Dun, 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 dun. Last episode was 34. This next one, 35. So I will go ahead and tell y'all this now. There is a great chance that this ends up all over the place, this episode. But in the title, I'm talking about the WWE Draft, 2024 WWE Draft. I almost said 24. It still applies. And NBA playoffs. I don't know what I'll say, like, oh, the playoffs are continuing. I don't know what fancy little title I'll have. But we're talking about the 2024 WWE Draft and the 2024 NBA playoffs, which have been heating up since the last episode of Shooting the Breeze. So we're on my team. We're going to be playing some triple threat for the main point that I am 24 triple threat wins away from the Dark Matter Gilbert Arenas, trying to do 2-1, do Shooting the Breeze, try to earn the Gilbert Arenas card. But before we get into that, doing a little side quest right here, because I've never really showed this off. But when I play my team, because you can't really do this in the other 2K game modes. You know, you probably could do it in the My Career, but you could create your own jerseys. Now, I already jumped into this too quick, but I personally like to match the jerseys with the basketball that is being used. Now, the reason I said I jumped into this too early is because the main 3 basketballs that I like to use, and I'm going to hope. Sometimes when you jump into that part, it messes up. But the main 3 basketballs that I like to use, I like to use this black and gold one. The main one is this freaking disco ball one that it took a long-ass time to unlock. So I like playing with this disco ball. So I like to wear black and gray jerseys, so that's why the first jerseys that you see are black and gray. You know, nothing too fancy. Now these I really like. These are the Icemen. These are the actual jerseys. Now this last one, this one's a personal favorite, and this is gonna be the changing one. The reason it's the alternate uniforms is gonna continuously change. So this one I like to call the previously on X-Men one, because when I was making it, and I was like, what should I do for a jersey? What should I do for jerseys? I was watching X-Men 97. And I was like, you know what? I could probably make some good X-Men 90s, an X-Men related jersey. So that is why these jerseys look like this and kind of the origin story of these. So I'm going to be using these jerseys today. And I'm going to be using a blue basketball because it's a blue jersey has a blue basketball. You know, just want to show that off for y'all really quickly. So now that the intro part is done, let's get into the WWE Draft, because my thoughts on it are going to be short and sweet. A couple months ago, I'm overbearing. A couple weeks ago, I just selected the wrong. Hold on. I just lied to y'all. A couple weeks ago, though, I made a video talking about things I wanted to see in WWE after WrestleMania 40. A lot of those things, are not going to be happening. I wanted to see Gunther unify the world and IC title to immediately lose the IC title. But one of the main notes in that video, I continuously kept saying, I don't think it is necessary for a draft. I think that the rosters, the way they are constructed, are pretty okay. And I've seen a lot of people agreeing with me on this take and having very similar takes on this. And to be honest, WWE themselves kind of agreed, considering most of the roster stayed the same. Now, moral of the story, the main reason I'm pointing this out is because this is something that, like, you know, I was right on because, again, like I said, a lot of the roster didn't change, and I already had mentioned it. I'm trying to read what I wrote down. But more of the story, a draft wasn't really needed, but they do a draft every year, and it was, if you notice, the same week. I got stuck behind Dwayne Wade. Same week as the NFL draft, and each year they add a little extra factor that kind of are in other sports drafts. So, like this year, for instance, they would like put, the draft pick is in. So if you watch the NFL draft, they have the little like sign that says the draft pick's in when each team selects. And then every year, like last year, they added to where they had guests or legends come out and announce the draft picks. They had the war rooms, etc. It's fun and dandy, but it's just the more that the rosters didn't change, it was we kind of somewhat expected them to. Kind of was a bit of a letdown. So instead of writing down every freaking draft pick, because that would have took up like 2 pages worth of notes that wasn't needed, I wrote down the actual roster changes that happened. Braun Breaker to Raw. Braun Breaker is a future star, so whatever brand he's on is fine and dandy. But again, the main issue that I kept saying was SmackDown like went out of their way like a month, maybe 2 months ago now, to sign Braun Breaker just to essentially lose him. So I know hypothetically they could have drafted him, but it's just I don't know why they made that big of a deal when they did. Nia Jax to SmackDown. I'm not counting Sheamus. Sheamus has been appearing on Raw, and I'm going off the Wikipedia page, but Sheamus literally when he returned was on Raw, so to say that he was on SmackDown, I'm not counting that. That rolled in. That was a very nice roll. Andrade to SmackDown. LWO to Raw. Now, the main reason I said those back-to-back is I felt that they didn't want Andrade probably on the same brand as LWO and to, like, interact. Even though he would be a fitting member of the group, I feel that they probably are like, let's not have those intertwine. Even though, like I said, it kind of would fit. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn on Raw, which Raw books their women's division a little bit better than SmackDown, and what I mainly mean by that is we get a lot more women's matches on Raw than SmackDown, so hopefully those two can get the chance to do that because they very rarely ever did on SmackDown. Damage Control on Raw, which, again, rinse and repeat what I just said, and it kind of is fair because we just saw Bayley and Damage Control break up, and that's essentially what the main storyline for the women's division on SmackDown. So now we get a little bit of change, and it's very much needed. Now, the thing that sucks the most about this is that I don't know how interested people would be in a Damage Control versus Becky Lynch feud, considering it's somewhat been done, but obviously since that point, more Damage Control members have been added, and Kairi Sane and Asuka, but it's something that we could work out and see doing very well. LWO already said. Shinsuke Nakamura to SmackDown. It's weird because Nakamura, a majority of his WWE run has been on SmackDown, but this year, previously, he got several world title matches and big matches on Raw, so let's see if the same thing will happen on the blue brand. It's also weird because most of his big matches were Cody, and that's SmackDown's champion. Oh, I knew I was forgetting something. That was the main thing I was forgetting. And it's not that big of a deal. But for the past couple of years, we had to go through the song and dance where we had to change the championship belts over. There was the infamous moment/segment with Charlotte and Becky where they had to do it, and we still really don't know what the hell happened in that. And the main reason we kept getting mad about it is like it changes the like history and lineage of it, and it's like the Raw title has to stay on Raw, SmackDown title has to stay. We get that point. So now they finally changed the championships over to non-branded championships. And this year, the champions aren't eligible in the draft, which I have kind of always been on the mindset that they shouldn't have been. I did not even think that was a 3, so good job there. But the one year that they, changed that, there's like, champions aren't even eligible to be drafted. So it was a little bit of an LOL. Not really. I want to point that out. Piper Niven and Chelsea Green to SmackDown. Indy Hartwell, Candice LeRae to SmackDown. DIY to SmackDown. Hopefully they get some tag team talk. Yeah, I really like DIY. So the fact they haven't been tag champions yet on the main roster is a bit surprising. Final Testament to Raw. I thought they were in NXT. New Catch Republic to Raw. Same thing that I just said about DIY applies to New Catch Republic. And Giovanni Vinci to SmackDown. Call-ups. Carmelo Hayes to SmackDown. Already got a big-time match with Cody Rhodes that was enjoyable. I won't lie to you. I've not watched a lot of WWE recently with the playoffs going on, but I did go out of my way to see that. What to do with this Chris Webber card? Let's just take... I'm going to add it to this exchange and then fully expecting to not get anything decent out of this pack. Kiana James to Raw. Baron Corbin to SmackDown. Ilya Dragunov to Raw, the big NXT call-up. Lyra Valkyria to Raw. Blair Davenport to SmackDown. And Dijak is back on the main roster, and he is on Raw. So, overall, like I said, draft wasn't really needed. And if there was one, I personally suggested they go the 2005 route where stars show up on the different brand every week. That was kind of like a different surprise element to, like, who's going to show up this week. Especially because, again, there wasn't a whole lot of roster changes, so you just kind of wasted a little bit of everybody's time. But at the end of the day, I understand why they did it. They wanted more sports-centric feeling towards it, like the NFL draft, like other drafts, but mainly the NFL one, because it was also the same week as the NFL draft. So, end of the day, I'm not going to harp on it anymore. I will be talking more about WWE this coming week with my Backlash predictions, but now we're focusing on the NBA playoffs. And this is where, realistically speaking, we can go all over the damn place. So, the way I'm going to go by these series, if you watched the last episode, Shooting the Breeze, I broke down every game one, because I did that episode last Monday. We're on Tuesday now. So, a lot of those series have finished. Some have not yet, but everybody had played a game one in the course of that video. And at the end of the video, I was like, I'm going to rank my excitement level for all of these. And I'll go ahead and tell you now, the only one that stays at the same spot, I would say, was probably the series I had at 8th, which was Celtics and Heat. The Heat got their one win that I very much expected to. I would very much hope that the Celtics finish this in Boston is 3-1 right now. Hopefully Porzingis is okay. He left game 4. Hopefully the Heat, and the main thing that I keep saying it with, I could go almost anywhere in the course of this video, is that I'm going to try to talk about the series, but the thing that I've been seeing with anybody else talking about the NBA right now in general is they're not really talking about the playoff series. They're talking about what teams that have been eliminated should do, which is fun and dandy because that's the fun fantasy booking part that's like unpredictable. But I'll give my take on that probably through the course of this. But in the course of Celtics and Heat, like I said, Celtics, just wrap it up. Beat them. That's the main point that I need to say there. And you're on the right track, too. Miami, hopefully you have a healthy season next year. Because if Jimmy was in the series, it would have been a lot different. But you also probably need to add something to your roster and take the regular season more serious. I think that's something that a lot of people have said. But my excitement level still was in last place because I didn't expect much from the series. And the game that the Heat won was a little bit entertaining because, like I said, it was kind of shocking. But all the games that the Celtics won have not been close. So that's why the series was at 8. The series I had at 7th, which I thought I had a little bit higher, was Cavs and Magic. And it is a 2-2 series. Now, I did say I expected the Magic to win at least one of their home games, and I was very much hoping that their home arena showed up, and they very much did. So, shout-outs to them. Did not expect this series to be 2-2, but it's just both of the home teams have had the main advantage is the best way to describe it. Very little fluent offense, a lot of defense, and it sucks because Game 5 tonight, a crucial game in a tied series, is on NBA TV. and I don't have NBA TV. And I don't know if I'd be, if I could do a 2-1 and watch, I probably would, but, I'm not going to go out of my way. But Game 6 obviously will be an elimination game for somebody, so that will be interesting as well. But ultimately, the main thing that is salty about the series is, like, the home team is dominating. Like, I would give credit because Game 4, it was close, and the Magic were like, no, we're not losing at home, which I appreciate and give credit to. But I drew a blank. That's been the main point of this series, is the home team is dominated, is essentially the best way to describe it. So, Game 5, with a lot to lose, I'm intrigued to see how both teams react. The series that I had at 6, which I think with how it ended and how it went and how the whole series went, probably could have and should have ranked it a lot higher, but it was Lakers and Nuggets. Such a great 5-game series. And the main thing that I made note of, and you could very much say, yes, that's right, but it's also, I don't know. It's going to be weird if we look back in the history books, and because there's a good chance that we don't remember how close this was. Now, we might because of the important players in this series, a.k.a. Jokic and LeBron, and what this adds to Jokic's legacy, and the potential of this being LeBron's last series in Los Angeles on the Lakers. But like I said, this was such a great, close 5-game series. The main thing that I said in last week's video that applies the same is just like the Lakers in each of these games had their lead and had their chance, and the Nuggets just slowly but surely got the lead, and just, except for this last game and even Game 4, I guess, because the Lakers won that one. But it's just the Nuggets knew how to work it, and I would be a little bit crushed if I was a Lakers fan that not only did we get one Jamal Murray game winner, but you got 2, and the second one sent y'all home with no reason, way to even fight back with it. But the Lakers eliminated my Grizzlies last year, so I ain't crying about it. Obviously, the main topic that has came out of this is what's next for the Lakers, what's next for LeBron, and I'm using this different voice because this is a combination of several different people talking about it. But essentially, what I'm just I think I want to see LeBron leave. I just want to see a new iteration, and if LeBron left, have absolutely no clue where he would go. I want that aspect of it. After the game happened, and again, the elephant that's in the room with the situation is what happens with his son in the draft. And I don't know if I've ever really went over it, but essentially, I don't really want to see those two play together because I'd rather Bronny play on his own and not have to, because he's already in LeBron's shadow. He's literally LeBron James Jr. But I want him to have his own opportunity. If he's on the same team as his dad, everyone's gonna be worried about his damn dad. And again, we don't know what the hell to expect from Bronny, considering he's just a freaking kid. So I personally don't want to see that, but I'm not the one making that decision. And 30 NBA teams have to worry about several different factors. But the moral of the story is I would rather see LeBron leave the Lakers. That way we get something different to happen. And I could go over this conversation for a lot of these teams, especially some of these older teams, which in the case of the Lakers, you had to, because they literally have the oldest player in the league on their team. But I've kind of been looking at my poster and essentially have somewhat came to the conclusion that almost every season we leave it with, oh, this team should change things up. This team should just trade everybody. And very rarely is that and I'm going to reference 2 seasons ago and last season. So 2 seasons ago, the team that we agreed with that with, and the team that actually did it, was the Utah Jazz, because we didn't see them going much further with that roster, and they did that. They traded Gobert to the Timberwolves, they traded Mitchell to the Cavs, and then they traded Bogdanovich to the Pistons, which again is still an LOL move, but at least he's on the Knicks now. But essentially, they got rid of their big money makers, and they went into a younger direction. But once we got to the deadline, I'm trying to think. So this would have been 2 years ago. The Trailblazers kind of started going in that direction. Then they tried the year with Dame and Jeremy Grant and Josh Hart, which I still think a lot of teams regret not trading for Josh Hart. Now, I also feel that's a somewhat forgotten trade, Josh Hart for C.J. McCollum. But the point I'm trying to make, last offseason, the Wizards were really the only team that, like, completely started over. Traded Bradley Beal to the Suns, which we're going to have to talk about that again in a minute. Porzingis to the Celtics, which might be one of the most, like, league-changing trade. I can't get how to describe it as that, maybe. Trades, and then they kept Kuzma, but they got rid of their 2 veteranish players. And then once we got to the deadline, the Raptors are like, you know what, let's start to get younger. So, essentially, going into this offseason, there are about 10-ish teams that either need to blow it up or make a big change. And I'm looking at my poster now. Warriors, Lakers, Suns, Pelicans, Heat, Hawks, Bucks, Bulls, Sixers. Now, the thing that sucks about that is I wasn't fucking counting. So I don't know how many teams that ended up. But it's just like, some of those teams, like Atlanta, y'all might, I don't know. Because they still got Trae Young. Where those 2 previous teams that I just mentioned were very old. Jazz, not so much. Jazz's team, when they blew it up, was old except for Mitchell. But now, looking at it, you would probably look at it from a different perspective. I could also throw the Clippers in that situation, but the main thing with the Clippers, and I'll have to talk about them in a minute, is that they're moving into a new arena, and they can't afford to just have a young team move into that. They need the stars that bring in the money and the revenue and the attention to the arena. You know, there's not anything that they were to like trade their core for wouldn't really draw for that new arena. So that's why I didn't include the Clippers in that. But like and also the main thing with all these teams that I just mentioned. So let me go over that count again. Warriors, Lakers, Suns, Pelicans, Hawks, Bulls, Bucks, Sixers. That's 8. You could potentially throw the Cavs in that at some point, but almost all those teams have been exited a lot earlier or stayed in the same freaking position. Hawks, they made the play. They were in the play-in every year. This is the first year they made the play-in and lost it. Bucks, sadly, y'all are on the route of being eliminated. Now, again, I'll talk about them in a minute, but in the first round, I should say, in the first round being eliminated. Bulls, back-to-back years making the play-in, back-to-back years of not getting out of the damn play-in. What the hell? Sixers, this year was an extremely weird year because of the James Harden situation, I understand, but they are kind of already in the mindset we need to add something to this team, so I appreciate that. We've kind of known that since Harden was traded. Pelicans, back-to-back years making the play-in. Hey, hooray, we made it. Guess what? We made it and just to get swept, which I don't know how many times a team that made it out of the play-in got swept. Like, a majority of the times, they win at least one game. This was a sweep. Lakers. Y'all faced the same team, back-to-back years, only won one game. Warriors. Y'all took a step back because the previous year, you actually took 2 steps back. Because the previous year, you made it to the second round. This year, you didn't even make it to the playoffs. To take one step back, you'd have to, like, lose a playoff game or lose a playoffs in the first round. I really struggle to say that. Phoenix. Oh, boy. Don't worry. We're getting to you. So, like I said, I'm trying to, like, this off-season talk should wait until the off-season, but it's, like, already slowly coming up now. And the moral of this story, and the reason I'm not going to try to dwell on it too much, is I've came accustomed to the changes that we want to see happen very rarely are a surprise and it happens out of nowhere, or it's announced like the James Harden situation, which both of those weren't off season. Those were both in season, but it's like, oh yeah, James Harden's going to get traded. Let's just wait the days and see what team is able to do it. So But like with the Jazz, when the Jazz traded Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, was very much out of nowhere. We wanted it to happen, but we didn't expect it when it happened. So essentially, what I'm trying to get at again, and I just keep drawing it out. There's a lot of teams we want to see change it up and make some shake-ups. But I'm very much of the route right now that I don't see a lot of change happening because I think teams are going to be too damn stingent. So in the case of the Lakers, though, I think it's 50-50. It's very much going to be based on what LeBron wants to do. I personally think LeBron wants to stay with the Lakers, but you can't run this same team back considering they lost to the same team back-to-back years, and it's not like this team's going to get any better. And I don't realistically know what changes they can make. So that's the issue there. But like I said, I would like it for if he left, just so we're getting something different, guaranteed. And so there's a lot of teams like, oh, we can get LeBron. Also, the other issue there is a lot of those teams don't got money to get LeBron. So it's a wait-and-see situation. But Nuggets won in 5 games. More than likely, the Jamal Murray game winner is going to be in the thumbnail in this. So there's that. I think I'm going to put Nuggets eliminate Lakers. So that was the 6th series I was most tight for. To be honest, right now, probably should have been at least 3, maybe even 2. But like I said, shout out for having such a good 5-game series. Dun, 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 dun. The series I had at 5 was Knicks and Sixers. Now, the reason I had it so low is like and I've heard some people say this, even though also the other thing I said, no one has said. But I was just like, I'm not really enjoying watching Embiid play because he's like hurt. He's very much hurt going out there playing. And like when he is not out there playing, the Sixers aren't that damn good of a team. It's not a good watch. So I hated watching this series from that aspect of like Embiid literally has to do almost everything for this team for it to be a good game and very even matched. Even though almost all these games have been very even matched and very close except for game 4. So, and again, this might be another case where I got to say, such a great 5-game series. But the other thing that I said was like, I think the Embiid slander and hate should, die down a little bit, considering like the condition that he's out there playing in. And then in game 2, was it game 2? No, game 3. The Mitchell Robinson foul happened, and the complete everybody's like, fuck Embiid, we hate Embiid, what the hell, and all that. So maybe I'm just not going to talk on that anymore. But again, it's been very much a good series. If there's any series to go 7, I can't even say this is the one I would want to go to 7 the most. That way, that 7th game in Madison Square Garden would be the craziest. But they're going to be in Madison Square Garden tonight with a great chance to finish it. I will be intrigued to see how this series goes. If the Sixers win this game, this series is going to 7, though. I think that's my hot take of this. But it's going to be very difficult for the Sixers to win. But it has been, again, a very great 5-game series, 4-game series thus far. Dun, 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 dun. Timberwolves and Suns. I had it 4, and I expected this series to go to 7. And Minnesota said, nope, we're not letting that happen. I'm giving credit to the Wolves now. Because, again, a lot of the topic coming out of this series is like, what the hell's next for the Suns? How the hell does not work for the Suns? I don't remember. I made a video talking about the Bradley Beal trade when it happened, obviously. And I don't remember exactly what I said in it. But I was pretty sure I was very down. I'm not going to say down on it, but I was like, I understand why they did it. They don't really trust Chris Paul. That was essentially the best way to put it. And they trusted Devin Booker enough to be their point guard. And at the end of the day, that didn't really work out. And now they're stuck with 3. I can't say stuck, but they got 3 big-ass contracts that hurts them in making any moves to improve this roster. Because, again, it's not only did they lose, they got swept. And this is kind of also a great case of defense over offense, because that was the main thing Minnesota had over them is defense. Their defense, You can have all the offense in the world. You know, I don't see how anybody can guard all three of us. Like, you had people guarding all three of you. So, it was a great argument for the defense over offense debacle. But credit to Minnesota and Anthony Edwards. It's also weird because I'm going to mention my Grizzlies here. This has been one of the main things I've seen on my timeline. It's talking about, do the Grizzlies try to trade for Kevin Durant again? I also, again, because I keep going, I was like, I see these three back on this team. Just me personally. If that's not the case, great, because that means they all three got traded, and it's going to be crazy. It's very rare that three all-stars on the same team get traded at the same time, or at least two, because I don't know why I keep putting Bradley Beal into this situation as well, but it is what it is. But I just personally see these three staying on the same team because it's going to be a case of, oh, this is our first year together, and they gave up a lot to get Bradley Beal, and they gave up a lot to get Kevin Durant. They're not just good. This was essentially their first. It would be terrible for it to only have one try at it, but I wouldn't be that surprised if at the deadline we're at the same situation where we're not going to get any close, and they try to make the trades there. But, you know, it's, again, just a little bit of wasting time. So it's a wait-and-see situation, and we've only been a day and a half into it. So we'll see what happens. Minnesota and Denver. I believe it starts Saturday. Good for Denver because they get that extra day of Minnesota have the extra day of rest, but I think Denver needs it a little bit more because that Lakers series was so brutal and rough on them. So this will be a very even series, but I ain't going to make a prediction. I ain't making no prediction, but this is going to be a way better series than their one last year. I don't see it being like the Lakers where I'm like, yeah, it's going to be a repeat. This one is going to be way better. Oh, I had to burp. I still haven't burped. I was like, I had to burp, I still haven't. The series I had at 3. Bucks Pacers. And I essentially spent a lot of that video talking about Damian Lillard. And I'm like, bro, he went crazy. He went off. Shout out to him. And then the Pacers won 3 straight games. Damian Lillard has missed time. He got injured in game 3. That was also a very good game that went into overtime. Shout out to Chris Middleton because he has given his all. I also think that it's somewhat forgotten that Middleton has been on the Bucks longer than Giannis. Or at least, if you want to guesstimate and round up, they've been on this team at the same time. But the Bucks, I feel, is also very much the same case. And I can't. It's weird to talk about it with the Bucks because they're still haven't been eliminated. A and B. I think they're just very much going to run this team back because, again, they gave up a lot to get Damian Lillard, and it's not like it can't work. With the Suns, we feel it can't work. With this, it probably could. It's just age is a big, big factor with this side. And, again, they're going to say, well, we didn't have Giannis and Dame. If we had Giannis and Dame, this series is completely different. And we very much plan on next season when we play having Giannis and Dame. Now, if we get to this time next year and that's the case, I think the conversation would very much have to change. I would hope that the conversation very much changes, but that's something we'll have to wait and see until next year. But the Pacers are on a good track of winning the series, so we'll have to see what happens there. And Tyrese Halliburton has stepped up and been better, and it would be great that if in his first playoffs he won his first playoff series because we're seeing that with a lot of players. I just lied. Winning their first playoff series, no, because Shea and Ant both won their first playoff series, but it wasn't their actual first playoff series is kind of what I'm trying to get at. With Tyrese Halliburton, it'd be his first series ever, and he would win. So I know I confused the fuck out of y'all. I hope I didn't, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Thunder and Pelicans, I had it one, but I'm not ending this conversation off with Thunder and Pelicans. What the hell, New Orleans? What the absolute hell? Y'all gave such a great effort. It was such a close game at game 1, and then it was never really duplicated in either of the 3 games. So what the absolute hell? Because I was most excited for this series, and I would, if I could go back in time, put this at 8. If I knew this is what was going to freaking happen, I expect this to happen, you know? So I was very disappointed in this end result. I was expecting this to be a very close series, and OKC said, yeah, that was only going to be for one game. So I was very disappointed by this, but good on OKC, I guess, for winning. Now, the series I had at 2 has been the most exciting series. Clippers and Mavericks. It is tied at 2-2. They play Game 5 on Wednesday. And I said the exciting factor with this is that Kawhi Leonard will come back at some point in this series. And I don't know what element to factor that adds. Now, it is crazy that in the course of this, Kawhi has not only been added to the series, but he's also been taken back out of the series. And the 2 games that he played, the Clippers lost. And the 2 games that he didn't play, the Clippers won. Now, maybe it's just a little bit of the team had extra fire and passion to play without Kawhi and to win. And the first game was obviously at home, so there was that. Holy balls, I just got baptized. But good on the Clippers for making this 2-2, because this ended up being 3-1. I would have been a little bit sad. I was very much prepared to come on to this video and ranting about Paul George, but Game 4 happened, and I didn't have to worry about that. But right now, this series is TUFF, all caps, tough. It's been very fun to watch, and I don't like saying things because they come back to bite me in the ass when I give predictions. But if you look at and this is what I've been saying for a handful of months now, but if you look at the profile picture, you would more than likely know whose side that I am on. So Wednesday night will be appointment television when this series continues. So there's that. So that's my playoff thoughts. We're going to finish this game and then wrap this video up. But it's been like this playoffs has been. Did he just make a 3? It's not only that he'd make a 3, but he waited and then made it. So we're going to do some commentary over this. But it's just like, this playoffs has been up and down. I think what has bothered me the most is like games that I've been like, sit there and ready to watch. Like, for instance, Celtics and Heat Game 3 ended up being blowouts. Mavericks and Clippers was a blowout. Oh, this is the other thing I was saying. Like, they were up by 30, but I was like, there's a good chance that Dallas comes back in this freaking game. And obvious to gosh, they did that. So there's that. But what other? The Pelicans freaking Thunder game, I sat and watched and was like, come on. Especially because they were like, with the Heat and the Pelicans, they were both the home teams. Like, you losing in front of your home crowd twice? Come on. What was the first game yesterday? Before Lakers and Nuggets. Oh, it was the Celtics and Heat again. I was watching the draft more so than that. But it's just like, this playoffs have had moments like the Clippers Mavericks Game 4, Nuggets Lakers. You could technically say all the games, but mainly the Jamal Murray game winners. But just like, we've also had not a lot of offense, a.k.a. Mavericks, or not the freaking Mavs. I just combined the names. Magic and Cavs, Mavericks. I guess that kind of, you get the point where I messed that up. But it also, hypothetically speaking, once we get into these later rounds, should be a lot better because, hypothetically speaking, that's when the better teams make it out. So we'll see what very much happens, but hopefully we have a good and healthy rest of the playoffs, which has kind of been the other factor that has like led to the sad parts of these. Because it's like Kawhi's out, Giannis is out, Jimmy's out, Embiid is limbering. I feel there's like another big name. Oh, Dame now is out. But I think that there is the rest of these playoffs. Zion was the other name I was mentioning. I'm forgetting. So hopefully the rest of these playoffs are very good. And closer, I guess I should say. Because, like, right now, we've only got 2 tied series. So, it's a wait-and-see situation. Let's see what we get in this freaking thing, and then we'll finish this. I don't know when the next Shooting the Breeze will be. I will go ahead and say that, but I already said Thursday, Backlash predictions. Friday, weekly ROH review. And Saturday should be Supersonics episode 7 All-Star Weekend Trade Deadline Edition. So, see what we get here, and then I can end the vid. Dun 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 dun. We get another Chris Webber. Hooray. I was taking a sip of water and couldn't even say I can't even add it to that. And then hooray, Jaime Jaquez Jr. If I ever see y'all call him Triple J, I will be very upset at you because that is restricted for Jaron. So, thank you all for watching this video. I'm very much sweating and tired, so that is why I've been very low energy through the second half of this video, but at least I got my messages out. If not, I'll comment extra things that I need to think about and get out there. So there is that. So thank you for watching again. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.